Tottenham are set to confirm the signing of Bryan Gil from Sevilla tomorrow, as Eric Lamela is currently in Seville finalising his terms and having a medical. Today I'm joined by the caller from the Cheese Room podcast to discuss Lamela, Gil, Romero, so much more, and a lot on our new director of football, or managing director, whatever you want to call him, Fabio Paratici. But first of all, caller, thank you so much for joining me on the show tonight. How are you getting on?
It's an absolute pleasure to be here, Matt. I feel like I'm normally in the director's chair, so this is a great new experience for me. I'm really pleased to come on your show, and thanks for having me.
Thanks, Willie, for your time. It is a pleasure finally having you on here as well. And like you said, you're not usually a guest, so I'm going to give you the most difficult questions possible in the hope that it's not a pleasant experience for you. But look, let's dive straight into things. We've got Fen in the live chat. Good to see you, Fen. We've got Bobby as well. It's all of the regulars. There's Robin, Caleb, Thomas, Steve, Alfie, Oliver, Simon Cohen as well, Niall, Eamon Burns, Dara as well, channel member. Good to see you all. And look, let's dive into it. Eric Lamela, as we said there on the top of the show, is currently in Seville, finalising his move to Sevilla. This was him arriving in Seville earlier today at their training ground ahead of a medical and stuff like that. And this is him being unveiled on the screens ahead of what is expected to be a double announcement tomorrow from Sevilla and Tottenham, with Bryan Gil joining Spurs. Caller, what are your opinions on the incoming, first of all?
Well, incoming, I think he looks good on paper. I think the proof is in the pudding. I think, he's clearly a very talented youngster. Barcelona, Real Madrid were all after this guy, and their finances are shot to pieces. So, hence why we've got a chance to scoop that up. The bit I'm really surprised at is that they've ever signed off on, Eric Lamela, Eric's sick note, one-footed, shithousery Lamela, going the other way, to be perfectly honest. I actually am quite a little Lamela fan at heart. I think he's given us lots of entertainment over the years, but not much in terms of output. So in terms of Bryan, he coming in the other way, I think that's an exciting signing. My one concern is he's never played in the Premier League. And he's very lightweight by the look of it as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. That's not to say he can't get on really well, because there are a lot of really lightweight players in the Premier, that have been like, look at David Silva, prime example. He's got the stature of a sort of flea, and yet he's exceptional, isn't he? So let's just hope that this isn't another like when we signed Lamela, if you can remember that long ago, and he was the next big thing. So it looks like a great deal for Spurs.
It does. It looks like a fantastic deal. And just to reiterate the details of that deal for everyone watching, it is €25 million plus Lamela going in the direction of Sevilla, with Bryan Gil coming to us in return. And it is believed that he has signed a 5-year contract with Tottenham, which will keep him there until 2026. And the question really for me is whether it's going to be, whether he can help the club short term, or if this is purely a deal with the long term in mind. And you mentioned there his stature is certainly something that will hinder his ability to get into that first team consistently. And when I was doing my first analysis of him when the news broke, I was reading Breaking the Lines, who were saying that he's not really ready for that step up to a bigger team. So do you think, on the basis of it, I know right now it is quite difficult to kind of look at it, but do you think he could be a fixture in our first team this season?
I don't think he's going to come straight in the team, and I'll tell you why, which I know will disappoint a lot of people. A lot of people might tell me I'm an idiot, but I was just having a good chat with my dad on FaceTime. He lives miles away up north. He's Wolverhampton Wanderers season ticket holder, and he was sort of talking about Wolves, and they signed a lot of good players, and Dendoncker was the example he used. Dendoncker sat on the bench for the first 12 weeks, a bit longer than that for Wolves, because Nuno really likes to get players to adapt to the system that he's trying to play and bed in with the unit, the team ethos, before they come into the team. And there's the fact that obviously he's never played in the Premier League as well. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him eased into the picture at Tottenham. But I suppose the conflict at Tottenham is Nuno was God at Wolves and pretty much did what he liked. There was not a lot of pressure coming down on him from a director of football. Here we've got Paratici. God help us, we've got Steve Hitchin floating around somewhere doing something that no one really knows what. And of course, big Daniel Levy in the background as well. So who knows really, Matt? Well, it'll be interesting to see. I'm really looking forward to seeing him in action, though. I think he could add a different dimension to the Spurs side. And then there's where he fits in as well, isn't there? Because, I mean, he's very left-footed, a bit like Eric Lamela. I don't think anyone's as left-footed as Lamela, but he is absolutely very left-footed. So, he traditionally plays on the left side of midfield. Where's Sonny going to play in that case? So I think there's a lot of a lot of wait and see. It'll be very interesting to see where he features.
Yeah, I fully agree with all of the points you've made there, and I don't think it will be on the left-hand side because, as you've mentioned, Son is our left-sided player, just signed that new contract, and regardless, he's holding Son, he's not getting displaced by a player who's just moving in. And also, I think because of how left-footed Gil is, he just get in the way of Reguilon, or whoever it is going to be playing on the left-hand side, because, you know, if you have, say, Son on that left-hand side and Reguilon on the overlap, there's space created inside there for Son, but if you're Gil and Reguilon's outside you and you want to get onto your left foot, you're just going to keep running into each other, and there's not too much that's going to come in the way of goals or assists within that. Just to go through a few more stories that we have got today, some particular headlines from sources. Fabrizio Romano has said in the last 2 hours, Tottenham forward Eric Lamela is in Sevilla to undergo his medical. Bryan Gil will be in London soon to sign until June 2026 as new Spurs player. €25 million to Sevilla from Spurs as part of the transfer. Here we go. ABC have said that Spurs will officially announce the Eric Lamela and Bryan Gil swap deal with Sevilla tomorrow, so that's where that story is coming from. El Demarque say Tottenham and Sevilla plan to announce the swap deal between Eric Lamela and Bryan Gil on Monday. Both clubs are hoping to close the deal in the coming hours. And Marca say that Spurs forward Eric Lamela is ready to sign for Sevilla. He's already agreed terms on a 3-year contract and is now waiting confirmation to travel to begin pre-season with his new side. Caller, I don't know if you're still with us. I think you may have frozen. Can you hear me? I think we may have lost caller there. I'll just talk quickly on Eric Lamela. And caller said he's rebooting, so he'll be back with us very, very shortly. But look, it is Eric Lamela is a player who's been in our team for a long, long time, and he's not one that particularly became, you know, a key part of our team. I know a lot of people last season made the joke of Gareth Bale replacing the player that we brought in to replace Gareth Bale, and it is true to some extent. I do think it is a bit harsh because, as I'm sure caller will talk about in a minute, there has been a lot of positives and a lot of well, not a lot, but there have been positives and good aspects of his game that he did bring to Spurs, and one of them is simply the fact that he will fight for the badge every time he gets out on the pitch. He will fly into challenges, and it's just something that we don't have in a lot of our players at the moment. Caller, you're back.
I'm back. The perils of live broadcast. I don't really know what happened there, but there you go. I did hear what you were saying about Lamela, but I didn't hear your last point. Sorry, Matt.
I was just saying he's someone who always fights for the badge and stuff like that, and it's ironic that happened now because Lamela often goes missing for various different reasons. But look, Lamela, he is a loss to Spurs to some extent, isn't he?
He's a loss in that if you need someone to get someone sent off or break a leg of someone or wind someone up, that's where it's at. I'd like to think we're a little bit better than that, if I'm being really honest, and we can fight fairly. But I mean, look at last season. His most telling contribution last season was there was two. There was getting Martial sent off when we demolished United, which at that point I thought we were going to win the league, along with maybe you and several other people. For sure. And that was purely because of his complete and utter BS, really. And then obviously the Rabona he scored against Arsenal, which this is why people love Lamela, but this is also why they hate him, because then he followed it up and got sent off promptly after that. So it's just, honest to God, I think this will be a better fit for the team. And don't forget, Lamela was injured for most of the season, nearly every season since he's been at the club. So hopefully he will be available a lot more. Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, if he has, like you said, whereas David Silva, the physique of a flea, he may be picking up some injuries, but surely not as much as Eric Lamela. And on that point, he did that against the Rabona against Arsenal. My favourite stat from that game is during the entire game, 78 minutes he played in the pitch, he didn't touch the ball with his right foot. And at that stage of the season, he hadn't completed a pass all season with his right foot. There simply is not a more left-footed player, which is, it's kind of a unique thing, but perhaps in a bad way. But if you had to pick your favourite Lamela moment, I was watching your stream the other night after your Lamela quiz, and you were talking about a few of these moments. If you had to pick your favourite Lamela moment throughout this time at Spurs, what would it be? It's got to be the Rabona against Arsenal. It's got to be, because it just got everybody. I mean, I thought we were going to win that game at that point. It was the Premier League goal of the season. It's probably his best contribution in a Spurs shirt. There's only a couple of players in the league that have the level of skill to pull that off. He's just such an enigma and a frustrating player, and I hope Sevilla hope that let themselves in for, because he's immensely skillful but immensely frustrating as well. He always gave 110%, Eric, bless him, and that's why we did a nice little quiz farewell to Eric Lamela on the show the other night. But I thought that, in all honesty, that was probably his best contribution in a Spurs shirt, which is more generous than the people who I was doing the show with, I've got to say, the other night, who said his greatest contribution was getting Bryan Gil to come in the other way. So leaving. So
any chance was that HG?
That was HG, yeah. Shout out to HG if you're watching. So I think, at the end of the day, he's done 8 years with us, hasn't really ever produced for us much, but there were some memorable moments along the way, for good and bad.
For sure. 100%. He has those few little moments, and as a man there says in the live chat, the Wilshere one, when he made Wilshere look like a scared little child, was very, very enjoyable moment. But the Rabona against Astros Tripoli as well. I remember back in 2015 we beat Man City 4-1, and Lamela scored one of those goals. So it was on my birthday, so it kind of made it that bit more special as well. But there is one fear that I've seen Spurs fans have on Twitter, and it is, I think, a legitimate fear, but one that we could probably look beyond at the moment, and that is the chances of Lamela failing his medical with Sevilla. And I've seen some people even say if he passes the medical, it'll be the best pass we've ever seen him make. Do you think there's any fears to be had there?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a walking injury list, isn't he? I mean, Lamela, we joked about it in the quiz yesterday, but in the All or Nothing documentary, he appeared in it quite a bit, but he was always on the injury table, or my hamstring's not working out very well, or my calf's playing up. His injury record is terrible. I'm amazed. All I can say is that old Don Fabio has obviously weaved his magic there. I don't know what strings he's pulled to get this deal through, but my God, what a man.
He's done a good job, whatever it is. And actually, you mentioning Paratici there reminds me, what are your thoughts on people saying, I've actually seen one or two on Twitter say that the fact that our two main centre-back targets are Christian Romero and Jules Kounde, and our first two deals are kind of smaller deals for players from the same two clubs, and Paratici could potentially be trying to build some sort of relationship with Atalanta and Sevilla in order to make negotiations for Romero and Kounde a little bit smoother. Do you think there's anything to that, or do you think we're just signing good players?
I think, like anyone, he's probably got his network of agents as much as anyone. I'm not sure that there's anything in that. Maybe there is, but I can't imagine there will be. Not with Daniel Levy pulling the purse strings at the end of the day. He's not going to do any preferential treatment in negotiations, as he's not going to suddenly overpay for a player. So I can't really see that. No, I think we're just trying to sign players who we see as the future of the club. If you look at the average age of the squad, it will come down nicely with this, and obviously Alderweireld on his way out as well. So there's real good reasons why we're doing this, and I think Paratici, hat tip to him so far. And I know if Bob Spurs watching, they have not held the shirt yet. I'm fully aware of that. But, I think we're all quite confident that some of these deals are very far down the line. So the only thing I'd say with those two centre-backs, Matt, I'd be interested in your take on it. It might be a bit of a height issue with the pair of them, because neither are very tall, are they?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how tall Christian Romero is. I know Jules Kounde is 5'11", but I think there's always a concern with players coming in from leagues that aren't the Premier League, because it takes a lot of time to adapt. And Jules Kounde, 5'11", you can look at that and say, well, he shouldn't be a centre back. But you can also look at a couple of seasons ago, he was in the top 5% in Europe for best aerial stats. He won like 4.1 per game with something like a 75% success rate. So he does have that aerial ability, but there's a difference between playing in La Liga and challenging Bryan Gil or Lionel Messi for headers, and then coming in and being pinned back by Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes. And as funny as that may sound, like obviously there's a very big gap in quality, it's going to be a much more difficult situation for him there. I think Romero will be better suited to that, because he seems a lot more physical and that little bit taller as well. But there is certainly a concern there, and there's Bobby in the live chat till they're holding the shirt. He's always around. It's kind of like Beetlejuice when you hear someone say that, he knows he's in straight away, and he's in that live chat. And we've Aaron Dove as well. We were talking about the injuries to Lamela. He says, "Shush lads, Sevilla fans might be watching." Well, if there are any Sevilla fans watching, do make sure to subscribe. I would appreciate it. But on the point of Romero, we will touch on that now, because we got another update today from Alistair Gold, who said that Christian Romero to Tottenham is a complicated deal to do. Spurs like to structure deals in a certain way. I can't say it's definitely going to happen, because it is Tottenham Hotspur, but there is a positivity that this deal will be done. Romero is keen on Spurs. Do you think we're going to see this one completed?
I think that's Alistair being as optimistic as he can, knowing that he's been burnt previously with deals and managers, and Fonseca being the latest example. I do think that one is going to get across the line. Kounde is a different kettle of fish. I'm not so sure about that, but I absolutely think we will sign this one. And where he refers to structuring the deal, I mean, what that basically means, I think, is they've got to agree to Levy paying in like yearly lumps rather than
25 pence for
a lot of, absolutely, and lots of add-on. We like add-ons, don't we? We like add-ons. We like clauses and all the rest of it. I mean, I see the clause, but the keeper that we've signed, that's an absolute classic in terms of how it's structured. If he plays 20 games in the first season, we've got an obligation to buy, and then there's a second year for an option of a loan as well. I mean, Levynomic economics, or whatever you want to say it, Levynomics.
Absolutely,
it certainly is well structured. So I think that will naturally hold up any deal, and is the bit that frustrates supporters so much, because we, as fans who don't really have a clue how the business side of things are run, we in our heads we just go, we'll just give him 53 million quid. What's that complicated about it? But who are we to say?
Exactly. Look, it's not the only complication within that deal. I keep saying the very fact that Romero is a Juventus player is another thing that's going to make this go on a little bit longer, because Atalanta need to buy him. As Temple says there, Atalanta need to buy Romero in order to sell him to Spurs. And in terms of a replacement, it does look as though they're going to bring in Mary Demiral from Juventus. But you're mentioning add-ons there, and Gazzetta dello Sport have been speaking about a bid that we made today. Tottenham have made an offer of €40 million plus €10 million in add-ons for Christian Romero. However, Atalanta want 55 million. So maybe not even just the structure of deal, but also the overall fee, something that's causing some problems in this one at the moment. And the positive thing is Fabrizio Romano has said Atalanta are willing to accept installments in this. I'm sure it's just a case of perhaps the structure in that. But in terms of an upfront fee, like we were talking before the show, with Alderweireld and Ponfoyt on their way out, that is essentially 26 million that can be immediately reinvested back into a centre-back. Some other stories.
We've got cash. The latest account showed there's like 196 million quid in slush just in the cash in the bank. So if we want to go out and buy a player, we can do it. It's whether we want to do it, and there's good reasons why not. Because if you're buying a player for a massive fee that's relatively unknown, like a bit similar to if you think about Sanchez. I mean, we got fleeced. So
pretty much,
for want to put a better word. So there's good reasons why they do this. I just hope it gets across the line, because I think Romero would be a fantastic signing for us. Fantastic.
Absolutely, I'm in the same boat there. Just to quickly run through some other stories. Matej Moretto has said that Spurs and Atalanta remain in talks over a deal for Christian Romero. The defender wants to join Tottenham. Tuttosport have said there's now a strong feeling at Atalanta that Christian Romero will complete a move to Tottenham, and Calcio Mercato say that Christian Romero is one step away from completing his move to Tottenham. And I feel like we're going to be hearing the step one phrase for quite a while, again, because of the complications within this one. There's also a quote from Atalanta defender Berat Jim City, who have said on Romero, "I do not know if he will stay. What I can say is that he's an excellent defender and a great person. I always feel at ease with him and wish him the best regardless of what happens." And that is one of the best things you can really hear if you're a defender and you're at ease with him. We also have the relationship he has with Galini, having played at Atalanta together last season. And I saw a report today, I think it could have been from Marca, but from some Spanish outlet, that said Kounde doesn't really want to come to Tottenham, but the chance to play alongside Christian Romero there is something that could tempt him. So if you're hearing that about one of the biggest up-and-coming centre-backs in the world, that just tells you exactly how good Romero is, aside from the fact that he did win Serie A Defender of the Year last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Paratici's the key in all of this, isn't he? Because ultimately, Romero's a Juve player, isn't he, originally? So he obviously knows him very well and probably structured the deal to Atalanta that's on the case. So I think, and that's one of the reasons I've got quite a lot of confidence that this will get over the line. And it'll be a great deal.
It will indeed. It's a lot of money, but it's a lot of money that I think is being invested in the right place. That's one centre-back who should be coming in, but one centre-back who looks to be on his way out is Toby Alderweireld. Rudy Galletti has today reported that Toby Alderweireld is now an Al Duhail SC player. It is a done deal and all confirmed, while DH La Sport say that Nuno Espirito Santo did not see Toby Alderweireld as a priority in his squad. The defender also notified the club he will not sign a new contract when it expires, and Al Duhail will pay £13 million for him. It's the end of an era, I think, with losing Vertonghen last year and now losing Toby this year, even Moussa Dembele about 6 months prior to Vertonghen's departure. But it's a good deal in the end for Spurs, you think?
13 million quid for a guy who's 32, and we were wondering, he wanted to go. I think that's the first thing to say. The guy wanted to go, and it's very difficult to hold someone back who doesn't want to be there. You don't really want them in your club if that's the case, unless the name's Harry Kane, of course. Which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. Toby has been a fantastic servant for Spurs. Like he's my favourite defender since Mabbott, probably. I think he holds King, of course. Yeah, maybe King.
Don't forget Eric Dyer.
Sorry, say again, mate.
Don't forget Eric Dyer.
No, not at all. I loved him playing with Jan at the back. I mean, those two, absolutely brilliant. I think Toby made everyone around him a better player. You could see that from the stats last season when he was in the team to when he's out of the team. And he's got that beautiful range of passing that really helps us, at times, rake a long ball out there to Sonny, breakaway goal. And we've seen that time and time again through his career. And Dele Alli getting on the end of the, long balls, flicks and all the rest of it. But there are other players who can do that. And he's 32, he's aging, you can see he's got no pace left in his legs at all. Still reads the game really well, but if his heart's not in it and he's on a big money contract, that would be very difficult to shift in the Premier League, I think. So this is a great solution, really. He gets, I think we were talking about the other day, he'll have immense tax relief on his salary. So even if he takes a pay cut, he'll be on more money than he was at Spurs. And then on the back of it, he gets to play in a Mickey Mouse league and look really good. So he's getting loads of money and he's going to be the star man for probably a year or two, and then he'll go back and play in Belgium, I would imagine, and see out the last sort of year or two of his career, or maybe he'll go into coaching. I don't know. He's a very intelligent guy. So I think it is the end of an era, as you say. We've got to build back better and get some really good up-and-coming centre-backs in there, because what we've got right now ain't going to cut it.
Certainly not going to cut it at all. Killian Kenny, thanks for tuning in. Have a good night. I personally was extremely surprised. I know a lot of Spurs fans were that Alderweireld is a team he's gone to, that Qatar is a country he's gone to, and there were reports that there was a bit of reluctance on his side to move to the Middle East. I think those kind of worries were quashed by the fact that he's on over £200,000 a week, according to some reports, which is a heck of a lot of money. But would you question his motivation for wanting to leave Spurs because he's gone off there? Because he, apparently wasn't going to sign that new contract last year and was going to leave, or was the year before, was going to leave with Jan Vertonghen, and then just simply wanting to work with Jose Mourinho, he extended that. And then we get the reports from, I think it was The Athletic a few months back, and you're thinking, well, he wants to go to Royal Antwerp, to go back home, or maybe go somewhere in Europe to win. Alderweireld are by far the second best team in Qatar. There's Al Sadd, managed by Xavi over there at the moment, who are winning everything around them. So there doesn't seem to really be the chance for Alderweireld to win trophies over there. So would you question why he's leaving in the first place?
It's purely about money. I think he's after one last payday before he goes, and he doesn't particularly want to be at Spurs. Look, he's going to go out to the Middle East and he's going to be live like a king. I mean, it's beautiful out there. I mean, I've travelled a lot. I've got friends who live in the Middle East. I'm fully aware of all the tax implications of working in the Middle East. Trust me, it's a great deal for him. It's a really good standard of life and living. So who knows what he's been promised in terms of signings that they might be bringing in and challenging for domestic trophies or whatever. But let's be honest with you. I mean, are you really that bothered about winning the Qatari league? Is that going to be your defining moment? It's absolutely not. I think they're playing for Spurs, playing for Belgium, Atletico. Those are the things that have defined him as a player. And ultimately, this is just a last swan song, really, a chance to earn a bit of money. He'll have a really nice standard of living, and then he'll be able to retire back to Belgium. And I think Toby is all about the money. He is all about the money. He held out on that new contract for a long time with Spurs. And you're right, only signed it because Jose was around. So he is a bit mercenary. I do think that. And fair play to him. He's 32. He's not got many more years left in the game. Maximise what he's going to earn and look after his kids. I'm sure that's probably what he's thinking.
Yeah, I would say so. But look, I'm sure I speak for both of us when I wish Alderweireld the best of luck. Whatever he does next, if it is Alderweireld or if something happened that is elsewhere. And hopefully we do get to see him back at Spurs in some sort of coaching capacity in the future, because he would be an incredible player for some of our younger defenders to learn from. Question here from Bobby on another potential incoming, which is, as you mentioned earlier, perhaps unlikely. Should we overlook the fact that Kounde has rejected us publicly just because he's good? It doesn't sit right with me. Personally, I'm not too bothered by that, and it may be because he's good. But if he didn't want us because there's a chance of Real Madrid coming in, well, to be perfectly honest, if I was offered a contract by Spurs tomorrow and I was told, well, you could go to Real Madrid instead, I would probably hold out on something there. And I'm an absolute diehard Spurs fan. What do you think on that, caller?
Well, it's like you say, if you think that the biggest club in the world, and Real Madrid and Barcelona, they are the two biggest clubs in the world. Make no mistake at that. They are the pinnacle of a footballer's career. Look at Ronaldo. Look at Bale. Modric, all the other greats that have gone to play for Real Madrid. If he thinks there's an opportunity there to go and play for Real Madrid, then I don't blame him one little bit. I think if he comes to Spurs, it's going to be because he wants to progress his career, and if he thinks I'll go there, I'll knock it out of the park, and then maybe Madrid will come calling, then that's fine too. Players are not diehard fans like us. Players are there to further their career. And I would say, think about it from try and take your partisan head off a little bit and think of it as you're at work and you want to get promoted and you're going to do the best job you possibly can. And I think that's probably where he's at with it. But I don't think that means that he doesn't want to come to us. I just think he wanted to try and get to those clubs first, because presumably his agent will know that they were sniffing around him and scouting him, and maybe he had a shot at that. But obviously the financial climate has wrecked it for him. Look, not everyone who plays for Spurs is a Spurs fan. That's what I would say. Yeah. And it, to a lot of people, it is a job. Benny Esiakoto, remember him? Disco Benny?
Do I?
He didn't care less about Spurs, or he was there because it was a job and it was money. Did he perform on the pitch? Absolutely, most of the time he did. He did very well for the team. So I think we can't lose sight of the fact as fans that not every player is going to feel the same as you and I about Spurs, and that's actually okay. We can't look at it. Even Harry Kane wants out, so
he wants out. Well, that is
through and through. Apart from that time, he was in an Arsenal shirt.
You can forget that.
So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think we have to take a grown-up view of it.
Absolutely, Bobby. You won't get that quality answer anywhere else. We're going to Cheese Room podcast, because that's actually where callers from. So anyone, there's over 600 watching live right now. If you do like what callers say, make sure to head to the link at the top of the description to go subscribe to the Cheese Room podcast. I can guarantee it'll be the best decision you make today.
And even if you don't like what I'm saying, get over there anyway, because there's a lot of other people who don't agree with me.
That is very true. If you don't like what he's saying, you want to see him proven wrong, head over there too. Aaron Fernandez here is on the point to Toby Alderweireld has said today, or to be fair, there's a pattern of Belgian players leaving to go to leagues around the world, and it is. I actually only saw that earlier today with the players in that 2018 World Cup squad. You've seen Moussa Dembele, Toby Alderweireld, and Jan Vertonghen from Spurs alone move on to more obscure leagues, and there was another long list of players within that one. But Brad Matthews comes in with the £5 super chat. Brad, you're an absolute gent. Thank you so much for that.
Hey, Brad.
Says, good evening, guys. Did you read Romano's article on Don Fabio? He says you have to pay the asking price, then some, if you really want a player. And Brad, I don't know if you've hacked me and checked my stream notes, because that is the next thing we were going to talk about. But Brad, thank you very much for the super chat. I'm just going to get these quotes up from Paratici, because they're very interesting ones. He said, I learned an important rule. If you like a player and you consider him important, you can pay a little more than the market price because you have to buy this guy. This can only happen if you are convinced of the player's skills and potential. If you see a top talent and are sure of him, you cannot lose him for a few million. Pay and move on. Could you find something that is more the complete opposite of Daniel Levy?
No. I mean, look, let's just hope he has control over the budget. We were talking about this on the Cheese Room the other night, and the kind of hope is that you want Levy to butt out of it, because he's done a terrible job with the football side of things. Like whatever you think of what he's done with the business side, and there's people that think he's done a great job and think he's done a terrible job. But park all that. He's done a horrible job on the football side of things, especially with transfers. Let's just hope he's gone, right, your budget is X. You're going to be accountable for not overspending that, a bit like, in any kind of normal business, and you spend it how you want to. And hopefully Paratici has got that, carte blanche to go and spend it how he feels fit, raise money from player sales, trade, etc., etc. Because that's music to everybody's ears, isn't it? No one wants to be haggling over a couple of million quid. Look at the Jack Grealish debacle. What was it, like 2-3 million quid that we missed out on him on? Now, I would say with hindsight, he's turned out to be a lot why player than anybody thought back then.
I think that's safe to say.
A lot of people were saying, oh, well, why do we want to sign him at the time? But hindsight's a wonderful thing. Point being, I think if we've got Paratici and he's not quibbling about a couple of £1 million here or there, then that's a very good sign, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It's going to feel so weird actually getting deals done, because like you mentioned the Jack Grealish deal, you can look at the Bruno Fernandes deal that we nearly got done 6 months before he joined United. We had a deal agreed with Sporting Lisbon, and then Levy went back in and said, actually, I kind of want to change the structure of that. Even as recently as last summer with Milan Skriniar, we were offering the money that Inter Milan wanted, just not in the way that they wanted it. And that's not what Paratici is going to do. He's going to make sure these deals do get done, which is just so encouraging. And there's so many incredible analyses and quotes and comments from Fabio Paratici that we're hearing. And it's all well and good. You can get that. We got those with Jose Mourinho 18, 19 months ago, nearly 2 years ago, when he was appointed. But with Paratici, for now, he looks to be living up to those expectations. I know without getting too many deals completed over the line just yet, but what are your 25 days into his official tenure at Spurs? What are your thoughts on Fabio?
I think he's done it more in 25 days than Hitchin did in however many years. The guy certainly seems to have a lot of good contacts. He's lining, as we know, he's trading tactic is to line up lots of people, so you never really know who his true intended target is. And it looks like, when we were talking about all those different centre backs, and we've whittled it down to these two. So I think that I'm hugely impressed with the man so far. However, I'd caveat that with Mr. Bobsbert saying, until they're holding the shirt, don't judge them, which is also fairly true. But everything he's done so far, I'm a fan of. I can't criticize anything, and I'm sure there will be things to criticize along the way, bumps in the road, because no one is universally popular, are they? But so far, he's not done a thing wrong. And he's cool as well, isn't he? He's got his his Italian stubble, a bit like me. He's got his Ray-Bans on. He's got his always on the blower and talking to unless we were having a laugh the other night talking about maybe he's on the phone to his missus in all these shots and ordering a Chinese or something for the after the game and that. But no, he looks like everything. Yeah. Everything he looks like from the articles and the media published on him, he looks like he's living up to right now. And you have to give some, and this is going to come very difficult for you, Matt, and a lot of other people, including myself, you've got to give a level of credit to Levy that he's actually looks like he's listened to the fans, got out the footballing side of things, and got someone really good and really competent in there, because we're a lot happier with him than we were Steve Hitchin, are we not?
That is just the most true thing you've ever said, caller. Out of all the things I've heard you say, I think the thing with Steve Hitchin is, I don't know if you ever watched the US Office, but there's a scene in that where Pam goes, when Creed is the manager for an hour, Pam goes in and shows him like two photos and says, corporate wants you to find the difference between these two photos, and they're the same photo. I feel like that's what happened with Steve Hitchin when he was asked to draw up this list of managers at the start of this summer. And maybe there was just, I suppose obviously Levy did have these things in the background trying to get Paratici in, but Hitchin still somehow within that setup, I can't imagine he what?
Still got a job. He must have a very expensive termination clause or something.
He must do. Brad there in the live chat says, Hitchin's still in Milan trying to get the Skriniar deal done. No one's had the heart to tell him. I love that, Brad. It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. If you another quote there I want to bring from some gentleman that worked with Fabio Paratici at Inter Milan. It's Javier Ribalta, who's the Parma Managing Director of Sport, who worked alongside Paratici at Juventus from 2012 to 2017 as head of scouting. This is what he had to say about him. I would call him an incredible worker. I don't even know when he can find time to sleep. He works 24 hours a day, and that's not a saying. Usually Paratici's calls are after midnight with the energy of someone calling you at noon. Fabio watches all kinds of games, even at night, from the Copa Libertadores to the Copa America. He watches any match. Normally, when you are the sporting director of football, you don't have the time to follow young players that you do when you work in scouting. He, on the other hand, never wants to lose this skill. He always watches games. He never loses anything. He constantly calls his collaborators to be updated on all the players in the world. This is a man, caller, that has such an incredible knowledge of players and such a fantastic eye for young players that Fabrizio Romano and Francesco Porzio on their Twitch account a few weeks back were talking about Fabio Paratici was in a restaurant in Milan 4 or 5 years ago, and he was just eating on his own. He was kind of doodling on a piece of tissue, and he walked out of the restaurant at the end of his meal, and he accidentally left the piece of tissue behind him, and one of the waiters picked it up, and it was a list of players that he had identified as potential signings for Juventus. Now, on that list of players were Dominic Szoboszlai, Nicolo Zaniolo, Sandro Tonali, and Mary Demiral, who at the time were nobodies playing in the lower leagues across many different countries and are now some of the most highly sought after young players in the world. This man knows more than we could possibly ever even dream of knowing about football. He'll forget more than me and you know combined times 10. How lucky are we to have this at Spurs?
It's not luck. It's not luck. It's a masterstroke. If I'm being really honest, it's a masterstroke. I mean, I think he's been I think we've sought after him for a while from everything that that Levy said when he finally got him over the line. I think there's been a little bit of a falling out at Juve, and that's probably the luck that we needed to get hold of him. But look, we're incredibly lucky we've got him. Incredibly lucky we've got him, I suppose. But there was always a plan there to get him in. So. He's probably the most important signing we've made this summer, and will be for a long time.
I completely agree with that. I've seen people say, Heung-min Son is the best signing of the summer, and in terms of players, he is. But overall signing, I think Paratici could really be an absolute game changer for Tottenham. He really could. And
do you remember, Matt, when we didn't sign a player for like 18 months, but we kept extending everyone's contract? And the phrase at the time was, it's just like signing another player. It's just like, so that was the line from the club. It's like the most important signing we'll ever make. Well, this really is the most important signing we'll ever make, or certainly for the foreseeable future.
Absolutely. I mean, he's not going to see us win 9 successive titles like he did in Juventus, but he could definitely be an absolute game changer for this club. Just take a quick quote from him as well. In 2019, he said, "It is true that I often follow multiple leads to run interference and raise the price tag, but everybody does that. It's not even a strategy on my part. I'm just obsessed with knowledge. I'm very curious when I hear about some rumours or I catch wind that somebody else is after a player. I think this is a virtue. I always look deep into things to try to know why. This stimulates me a lot. When you try to get some information about a player, they are naturally linked to you, and then you become a potential buyer." And you spoke earlier on the kind of philosophy and processes that he goes through in terms of negotiating for 4, 5, 6 different players, and then picking 1 or 2 to get in there. Part of that is also to get another deal done behind the scenes and to get one done quietly. Last year at Juventus, he managed getting Weston McKennie in from Schalke, and this summer he managed to get in Bryan Gil from Sevilla, again, as we are expecting an announcement on that tomorrow. Do you think he could have some other tricks up his sleeve this summer?
100%. I don't think we know who the forward targets are. We've not even spoke about the forward targets. Danny Ings is a name that's being floated around, but I guarantee you we'll be linked with 3, 4, 5, 6 strikers, and that's if Kane stays. And I suppose the confusion will be the mainstream press will all be saying, "Oh, yeah, we're after a Harry Kane replacement." It probably isn't a Harry Kane replacement at all. It will just be that Paratici knows exactly what we need, and he's sussing out several targets. I think the rebuild's just begun. I think you're going to see this go on certainly for the next few weeks into January and beyond to next year's window, because I think we'd be fools to think we can completely transform the team in one window. We can't. We can make a good start on it, but this is a process that's going to take over a year, and we've got to give Nuno a little bit of time as well.
100%. Fans are just so quick to... Not just with Spurs, but just in football right now. Your manager, if he's not doing well after 6 months, all of a sudden he's going to be sacked. And that's the last thing that Spurs need right now, because we need a bit of stability and a bit of consistency in the way we're trying to build. Before we leave the subject of Paratici, I just want to pick you up on a comment that I told you I was going to pick you up on. And a caller in a group chat the other day said to me that if I love Fabio Paratici, I then love Daniel Levy. Can you explain your feeling behind that and why you think I love Daniel Levy?
I think my slightly paraphrasing, slightly wrong, but I would say that absolutely you must be happy with Daniel Levy because he's brought Paratici in, and therefore all these signings. And I'm being slightly mischievous when I say that because I know where you stand on Eric and Levy, but you've got to give massive credit to him. You've got to give massive credit to him. So I suppose. Substitute love, if you like, for credit. But I think one way or the other, you've got to acknowledge the fact that he's actually done something decent for the team for a change.
If you substitute the word love for credit, I'm a bit more open to that idea. But what I always say about Levy, and I know I said it one of the first times I was on the cheese room with you as well, that if we had this conversation 4 years ago about Daniel Levy, I'd be his biggest advocate. Maybe even 3 years ago, I would have said he's the perfect man for the club. But he just seems to do everything a little bit too late. He seems to, in that Pochettino team, like you mentioned there, we went 18 months without signing a player. Then we did sign some players, and we signed some incredible players. Made some brilliant signings in Ndombele, Celso, and all them. But it was too late. Had that happened a year before, and we managed to refresh that squad that was getting a bit stale, while still performing to a high level, there wasn't really much competition in there. It was getting stale, and you could see, even in that run to the Champions League final, from January to, was it November of that year, we went without winning an away Premier League game, and we did just about scrape into the top four that season. There were things going stale, and Levy couldn't see it at the time and thought maybe things will fix themselves, left it too long, and all the momentum we had in that case is gone. I would level a similar criticism onto him with this getting in a director of football, and not Fabio Paratici in particular, because 4 years ago he simply wouldn't have been available. He was working on getting Cristiano Ronaldo to Juventus.
Exactly.
But if in 2017, when Levy saw the potential that this club had and where we could possibly go, if he got someone in then to handle the football side of things, I think we could be in a very different situation now. And it's maybe just his lack of foresight.
Well, he did, Matt. He did. He just got the wrong person. He got Steve Hitchen involved. Steve Hitchen's head of football.
Is he director of football though? Did he have enough power to?
Basically, that was his position.
I'm not sure he had enough in that. Steve Hitchen to me seems like a bit of a yes man, a bit of someone that Daniel Levy could, say, go out and find these players for me. But ultimately, the negotiating, the decision on these signings was down to Daniel Levy. Whereas now,
100% he did that end of it. Yeah, 100% he did do that end of it. But Steve Hitchen had a lot more power than I think people acknowledge. And I think. I completely agree with you. We should have signed players in that 18-month period, and that is absolutely on Daniel Levy. I'm not going to sit here and say that everything Daniel Levy's done has been good, because it's absolutely not. He's a bit of a disaster as far as the football side of things is concerned. I think he's done an excellent job with branding, marketing, growing the club. We've gone from, 20-something, I think 21st, I think we were in terms of valuation of the football club, to where we are now, sort of, I think, 7th or 8th. He's done an incredible job with the commercial side of the business. And it is a business, whether people like it or not. All the football clubs, top football clubs, are businesses. We don't like it because we're football fans, but that is the truth of where we're at. So he's done an incredible job on one hand, but he's done an awful job on the football side of things. He hit lucky with Pochettino in many respects, because it was just like scattergun approach to finding a manager back then. And Poch did an incredible job and should have signed players in that time. Where I will criticise Pochettino, I'm led to believe, and I know from people inside the club, he snubbed signings during that time. So it's not all about Levy. I think that Pochettino did have some accountability, and I know he is Saint Poch to a lot of us, but that's not strictly the case. And I think Pochettino in that last year did a pretty horrible job with the team. Certainly went before he got sacked. And anyone who says he didn't deserve to be sacked, have a look in the mirror. He absolutely did deserve to be sacked, in the same way that Jose Mourinho did deserve to be sacked. So I think, I don't like Levy. I wish he would leave the club. I wish we could get owners in that really back the team. But then by the same token, I do sort of check myself and go, would I want to be Man City right now?
Exactly. There's a fine little balance we need to get in there. It looks like we're on one extreme and Manchester City are on the other.
I want success to feel like it's earned, Matt. That's what I want. I want success to feel like it means something. I've got to be honest. Being a Man City fan, you look at the average, football supporting history of most of these Man City fans. They're not football fans. They're just people who like winning. They're the glory hunters. When I was a kid at school 25 years ago, it was, or maybe a bit longer than that now. It was all about Man United. They were all Man United fans or Liverpool fans, and it's no different now, because they were literally mopping up everything United at the time. And it's the same with City. But the difference is Man United generated their cash. City have just had someone come in and pile money in. And it can't feel that good to know that you've bought the league, literally bought the league. It's a hollow success. So, my hope would be that when Daniel Levy does eventually leave, which I'm quite sure at some point he will sell up, we get owners who actually invest. But we don't end up being owned by all barons, and it's just not really particularly exciting, because we're used to winning everything all the time. There's got to be some jeopardy in it, surely. And I know that won't be a universally popular view, but it is my view.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few people asking in the chat what the jersey I'm wearing is. This is Beijing Guan from the Chinese Super League. I suppose
mine.
Analyzing. Huh?
I thought you meant mine.
I was supposed to be analysing one of their games at work today and it got postponed, but I kept the jersey on in memory of the game that's supposed to happen. Look, if you do want to see me and Caller debate Levy and Enoch and a whole lot of that, there is a stream on the Cheese Room podcast that you can check on replay from maybe a month or two ago at this stage. It was one of my favourite streams I've ever been on, to be perfectly honest. So I do recommend everybody goes over there to check it out. But look, there's one player that we have to discuss before we go, and I think you can guess already who it is. Where do you see Harry Kane plying his trade next season?
Tottenham. He's not going anywhere. Lots of reasons why. How many do you want? I mean, he's got a 3-year contract that's binding. Now, again, if we're going to criticise Levy for a lot of things, digging his heels in and not selling players will definitely be on that list. So, I think that if Man City are going to come in and stick 160 million quid down with the accusations they've had levelled at them today in the press, on top of the accusations of fiddling money from FIFA and UEFA, I'd be amazed that they're going to spend that kind of money, especially when they're talking about signing Grealish as well. That's 2 upwards of £100 million transfers, and I just don't see them spending that money. They rarely go above 60 million quid. I understand Kane wants to leave. I completely get it. But that's not his right to leave. He sold that right to the club when he signed a 6-year deal, negotiated by his brother. So if he wants to blame someone, he should probably blame his agent, who is his brother, 3 years ago, and he's still got 3 years to run. Charlie Kane, these stories that are coming out from his agent, and his agent is literally feeding false information to the media. And there may be some half truths in it, but it's definitely not agreed that that there's £160 million, £400,000 a week contract on the table, and it's fed for a purpose. It's fed to disrupt, and also to see what City and Spurs' reaction is, to try and force them into negotiations. And if City were like, yeah, we'd pay 160 million, then maybe the thought is that all of a sudden Tottenham are interested in selling him. But for me, the number should start with a 2. It should be a world record number, because we don't need to sell the guy. And the argument I hear a lot of people say is, well, he could just down tools, not train, etc. Well, that's fine. We'll just find you a couple of weeks' wages and eventually we'll go back. But I don't see that from Kane anyway, because I think Kane genuinely does care for the club. He genuinely does, whatever he's thinking right now. I know he wants to win trophies and that's what's driving this, but he does care for the club. And he's a consummate professional. He's not going to want to sit out some of the season on the bench. He's going to want to be banging goals and getting closer to Shearer's record. So I don't think there would be any issues with performance. And I think if we're going to sell him, the time is next year, not this year.
Yeah, and look, I had a conversation with someone at work today about this, a United fan who knows nothing about football. I hope you're watching, Kieran. And he asked, is Harry Kane really worth £160 million? And I said, it doesn't matter if he's worth that to City or to United or to Barcelona or Real Madrid. It matters that he's worth that to Tottenham. And I've no doubt in my mind that he is worth more to Tottenham than he will be to any other club out there, because for so long he's been carrying us to a lot of where we went. And for a few years there, he did have an incredible team around him that helped and couldn't quite propel us right to the pinnacle of winning that Champions League final. But he is worth a lot more to Spurs than he is to any other team. And because we are the ones with the leverage in this, because we have him on a 3-year contract, it's down to us where he goes. It's down to us where he plays next season. Yeah. And if it's down to Daniel Levy, well, it'll certainly be Tottenham Hotspur. But we're going to see a lot of rumours, and they're going to continue all the way through to the end of the window, which is going to be extremely exciting. And if you do want to be kept up to date with all of those rumours, not just on Harry Kane, but on the signings as well, which are bound to come thick and fast in the next week or so, do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and do make sure to head over to the Cheese Room podcast. I have the link to that pinned to the top of the chat and in the description as well. Caller, let us know what the channel's all about.
Well, look, it's a place where we have lots of debate. We do talk transfers. We have 2 shows, one generally speaking on a Monday, one on a Friday, but we will have breaking news shows, much like you do, Matt. And we try and have a mixed audience on. There's some, we've got some analysts who work week in, week out for us, but we have guests on now again as well, and we encourage debate and free thought and hopefully entertainment as well. So if you like all of that stuff, then please do come over and just give us a subscribe and a watch. Hopefully you'll enjoy as much as I've enjoyed your channel, Matt.
Thank you very much. And look, I don't know how to say it to you, but I absolutely love watching the Cheese Room podcast, because there is some really, really good fans and they're really good streamers, and there's always a conflict in interest, and you get that debate, and you get that thing that sometimes you don't get on other channels. And if you do want to head over, subscribe there, again, I highly recommend it. You do see me quite often in the live chat, so come over there and have a chat with me next time you're streaming on the Cheese Room. When's your next stream over there?
So we're going to go Monday night, as in tomorrow. So please, do head over 9 p.m. We'll be there.
Everyone, 9 p.m. You got to go in there. Stuart says, great show, Matt. Love the Cheese Room too. And a comment there a second ago, Max Baker said, this guy is a breath of fresh air, seriously speaking facts about you, caller. So some love for you in the chat, which you may not be used to, but it is happening tonight. But look, everyone, we will wrap up there. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in. There's 666 people left here right now, which is a bit of a concerning number, but it's a big number, so I do appreciate all the support on the channel. Do make sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and there's also a link at the top of the description if you'd like to vote for me as best young content creator of 2021. I would massively appreciate it. I know it's a long shot, but I'm running for it anyway in the hope that something happens, so any support on that would be greatly appreciated. And while you're there, vote for David Harris as the best new content creator, and We Are Tottenham TV as the best club content creator, and hopefully we can win the treble, because Spurs won't be doing that anytime soon. But for now, we will wrap it up there. And if I remember to turn off my camera or turn off the stream, so I always forget to do that. There we go. For now, as always, thanks so much for watching.
Cheers.